Hey guys, and welcome back to Anything Goes with Sania and Leah. Today is episode 11, which is exciting.
11, 11, 11, 11. How,
So,
Karen?
no, I was just going to say, so let's have a prep update. So, yeah, go for it.
Always starting with that prep update. God, you know what? Time is going really quick, but also really slow because it feels like a lifetime ago that we did the podcast last week, but it
I
feels
know.
so close. Does that make sense?
It
I've
does feel
just
like
had,
ages ago. I think it's because bank hole.
yeah, bank hole. I've also, guys, guess what? I finished uni.
Oh
Finished,
my God, I
finished,
completely
finished,
forgot
finished.
about that.
Yeah, I'm done. I am motherfucking done.
You happy?
Finished. Yeah, man. Yes. Like, it's a bit of a weird one, right? Because I was like, I'm very good at like self-learning, and that's what I did for the majority of my uni. But for the last couple of weeks, I had to be at uni and stuff. But I don't really feel much different, to be honest with you. Like, my life is still pretty hectic. I just don't have to write reports. I have
Yeah,
evenings to myself. I'm just really enjoying the time of being present in the moment.
yeah.
Like I went home because I had a group posing session, but also I live near the group posing session, which was in Winchester. So I spent some time with family and stuff, and it was just so wholesome. Like,
Oh,
actually not having like a report on the back of my mind, and not
yeah,
having to, when my family aren't doing anything, like quickly typing away and like
yeah,
doing
yeah,
work. Like, I actually brought my laptop, but I didn't go on it. Like, I just didn't. Like, we spoke on our last podcast. I was like, no, this is my family's time. I'm going to work for the group posing session, and anything before that and after that, I'm not doing it. Obviously, Monday's my day off. So I
hmm,
took that off as well. I did message a few people back on WhatsApp. But it's just been nice. It's just been
yeah.
really nice to be able to be present in the moment. And I think that's why it's felt so long and so short, because I've had the celebration of fuck, I'm done with uni.
Yeah.
Then I've gone home, which entailed a lot of traveling. So that's probably why it feels a bit longer.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, like prep's going well. I lost £2 in a day, 4.5 pounds in a week, which is
Lying.
absurd. My body just went through, since the last refeed, it was just like, nah, I'm sound. I'm staying here.
Oh yeah, because last time you were on the refeed and you were like minor panicking a little bit.
Yeah, man. Yeah, serious panic attack. Okay, not actually for anyone who does have it. I didn't have a panic attack, but I felt just so consumed by anxiety. And it was like my body was so happy where it was, and I think it kind of knew it was going to be like the last bit of food I had. So I actually started my period 2 weeks early, which for me is like, right, this is gonna probably be my last
Yeah.
period. And it wasn't even like, this is probably TMI that only women probably listen to this, but the flow was a lot heavier, and it was like reddy brown. So it was like, almost, it looked as if it was like the last drop of what had to come out
I'm quite surprised you had
ready.
a bit, to be fair.
Yeah, so am I.
Yeah.
I genuinely thought it was going to be my last period last time, because when
Yeah.
I was in prep last time, I lost my period at 10 weeks out. And obviously, I'm a fair few weeks ahead of that. And I was like, yeah, that's going to be my last period. And then I didn't have any PMS symptoms, nothing. It just happened all of a sudden. So, this is what makes me think my body was just getting rid of it, because it's like, right, nothing's going to happen. We don't want to do anything after this. 2 weeks early, bish bash bosh. Didn't feel any cramps, nothing. It was just
Oh,
streamline
oh.
blood. It was very weird. And I said to Tom, I was like, I'm not concerned because I know it's my period, but it's kind of weird at the same
Yeah.
time. This isn't normal. But he was like, yeah. He was like, we're probably going to assume that this is your last one.
Yeah.
If I do get another one, we have to just be careful with it, because obviously we need to figure out how my physique's going to look. But because nothing changed in my physique at
Yeah.
all in this last one, we feel all right, just in case it
Yeah. Yeah.
happens like at some point.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, no, I lost £2 whilst I was on my period, stopped my period, and then lost £2 again. So things are
Yeah.
going well. Food, it was lowered last week, wasn't it? I told you that, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
After
hasn't been lowered since. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And now because I lost £2 literally overnight. He's saying that we might refeed tomorrow,
Exciting.
which it is like I always get excited before it because I'm like, yes, food, and then it comes the day after, I'm like, oh, food, I'm a fat piece of shit.
I always find that I get super hungry the day after I refeed. Like I have a refeed and then I'm like, ugh, when I go back to low food.
You know what? I got like that after, but I actually this time I'm sound.
Right. That's good.
Genuinely, I don't know why. Like this prep has just been so different. Like everything that I thought I would feel, I haven't, in a
Well, not a
positive
bad
way.
thing.
Yeah, in a very positive way. But how are things with you anyway? That's my prep update. I'm also currently 122.6 pounds for anyone who wants to
How
know, and
much
I'm
weight have you
perfect
lost
at it.
now?
Over 20 pounds. So I
No.
started on 45 pounds. 45 pounds, yeah. Um,
Wow. Oh, loads of muscle there.
um, just skin and bone that. Um, I started on 145 pounds on the dot.
Okay. What did you weigh
So
last time you competed? Just out of interest.
54 kilos. So 100, I don't know what is that in pounds. Let me calculate it.
Oh,
So
do you do kilos?
I used to, yeah. So I was 52, 53, 54. I can't really ever remember, to be honest. I'm gonna do 53, just like in the
Oh,
middle,
wow.
times by 2.2, about 116.6 pounds.
Okay, so you're not far off where you were.
No, so we want to, for my first show, we want to get sub 120.
Yeah.
Um, and then for two bros, we want to get either that or we want to get a little bit more dialed in. It just depends on the look. Because
Yeah. Yeah.
like it's one of those things where it's like I don't think my upper body has gained an enormous amount of muscle since last time, but we know my legs have.
Yeah.
So we're just trying to kind of figure out what we the scale on the weight isn't like the ultimatum. It's right, how do you look? But
Yeah.
we've
Yeah.
got these goals in place to kind of just so we can kind of think, right, what should we do today? Are we ahead? Are we a little bit behind? When do we need to push? When do we need to pull back, kind
Yeah.
of thing? But it's not
Exactly.
the be all and end all.
Exciting.
Mm.
Mm.
So how's things with you?
Yeah, just ticking over to be fair. So I got a bit more food last week.
Nice.
So we basically added, what have I got? I've got some more bigger post workout. What else? There's basically like 2 meals on each day that have been upped a bit more. And then I have like 3 calories. So I have like, I've got loads of 3 calories now. So I've got like 650 on a rest day and 550 on a training day. Yeah, it's really nice.
What the
I've
fuck?
been putting butter on my bread and everything. It's well nice.
I
I'm like,
bet. Yeah,
let's
I
go for
bet. I
breakfast.
I bet. That's
Oh,
sick, man. That's like two Snickers bars.
I know. I had an Easter egg yesterday, actually.
Yeah, and that's not even 600 calories. That's probably
Actually, I had
only
half
like,
an Easter egg. I don't even
yeah, so
know.
you fucking are jealous.
Yeah,
I'm not.
it's good.
But I actually, my friend Katie, I went back down home and she wants help with like just a bit more of structure with her diet.
Yeah.
Because she's like got into CrossFit and stuff.
Oh,
She
yeah.
was like, you're the only, she was like, I just eat so that she works in hospitality. So she was like, I just eat so much shit. She was like, I have time to meal prep now. She was like, I don't want to be on a meal plan like you and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, no, trust me, what I do is quite extreme. Like, not everyone wants to have the same
Yeah.
meals every day, and I can understand that. And she was like, she's pescatarian.
Yeah.
She was like, can you just write me out just something so I have something to guide on? And I was like, well, how about this? I'll write you 3 different meal plans. So she eats 3 times. She's a snacker, right? So what I've done is I've given her 3 main meals, like one before
Yeah.
she trains, one after, because she trains before, like she had breakfast, lunch is like her post workout, and then
Yeah.
she had like a dinner and then like loads of snacks. So I've done Dan Wellborn's approach because I was like, I'll give you your macros so that
Yeah.
if you don't want to follow these 3 different plans, so she can have something different every day, like every 3 days. I was like, you can follow the macros, but obviously now you have like a bit more of an understanding as
Yes.
to where you need to prioritize your food.
Yeah.
Because her fats were at like 120, her carbs
Yeah.
were at like 60, and her protein was at like 80. And I was like, what? Maybe it was a little bit different, but she was on
Yeah.
like 2,100 calories, but eating
A lot of
like,
fat.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I said to her, I was like, you'll feel really good about it and your training will go really well. But I've done Dan Wellborn's approach. I've basically just given her like, right, here's like 300 calories free. I'm not even put it, you can have it with whatever you want. You can
Yeah.
put it into the meals. You can literally have a snack. all that kind of stuff. Because I've given her like a squares bar and like a grenade bar as snacks and stuff, just so she can.
She's got stuff that's easy.
Yeah, but then she also has like 300 free cows, and
Yeah,
I genuinely think it's such a good idea for
really
for
is.
people who are foodies
Yeah.
and people who enjoy the little things. Like for Reese, he'd go, well, I just won't eat it. Like if it's not on time, I won't
Yeah.
eat. But for me,
That's
I'd
what
go,
Will's like.
oh, yeah. And
Will's
I'm just
like,
like, I think,
well, why doesn't he just put your meals up? I'm like, well,
why
I
don't you
want
just put extra
flexibility.
olive oil? Yeah, like
He's
this
like,
is
why
it.
don't
And
you
I
just have
think
more rice? I'm like, no.
I want something out. Yeah, and I think it's a really, really good idea for that part of where it's like, look, I'm all in. I am all in with
Yeah,
bodybuilding, but I love a bit of flexibility.
yeah,
But
yeah,
I need a meal plan.
yeah,
So I think it's a really good idea, and I think most people would actually probably benefit from being on a meal
yeah,
plan with variations
yeah.
and free calories, because they're still getting the nutrients they need, but they're still ticking all the boxes in. I fancy this today. Oh, I'm not restricted. Wow,
Yeah,
feel
exactly.
great.
It's like best of both, because I sometimes think with like if it's your macros, not gonna lie, like it takes a lot of time to plan every single thing you're gonna eat for the whole week. And I just think
Yeah,
I always say this to my clients, like if you're gonna have a breakfast, plan your breakfast and then repeat your breakfast, because otherwise you get to the start of the day and you're like, oh my God, what am I gonna eat? You gotta go to work, there's nothing in the fridge. So just
yeah.
rinse and repeat your main meals and then give yourself a bit of flexibility around it. And then at least like you're getting a structure there and you're not having to
This
plan
is
every
it.
single meal.
This is it. And also like, and also in that sense as well, like have like regular people will go on a food shop every week. So instead of like doing it day to day, plan your weekly food
Yeah.
and keep it relatively similar, but just change a few things. Maybe still have rice and chicken, but with the extra cows, just have like, I don't know, curry sauce or
Yeah,
lemon bread
exactly.
instead. Like a lot of the time we all eat very similar stuff. It's just the flavor that's
Yeah.
different.
Yeah.
So I genuinely think it's a really, really, really good idea. Like, I
Yeah,
don't
I
know if
agree.
he's the person who came up with it, but he's the first person I heard as a coach doing it.
Yeah. 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 And then obviously,
Um,
because I've like done that with Dan and I've loved it, I do that with my clients as well.
yeah, I think it's great. I think it's genuinely really good, and I want to do that myself with after prep and stuff, because I think it's gonna make me feel less guilty about certain things. Like,
And also, it's really nice then because when you head into a prep, you feel like you've eaten the things you want rather than like going into a prep and being like, oh my God, I've just been on a meal plan for like 10
and
months.
one and only once a week you can eat
Yeah.
out. Like it's I've had little bits that I want every day. Like, oh, I won't feel bad of saying yes to having a Haribo, because like
Exactly.
even though I'm very like not very optimal but optimal at the same time, like I still feel that sense of probably shouldn't have had that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then I'm like, fuck it, I don't care. I'm 22.
Like I like it because like if I go to the coffee with my friends, I'm like I can have a cappuccino and a little bit of cake if I want to, or a protein
Yeah,
bar, or whatever. And I'm like, bro, I'll just use it on my free cows, and I still get to eat
yeah,
all my meals. I don't have to swap it for anything in my meal,
yeah.
and I don't have to sit and have a stupid. You know what? Sorry, tangent. You know what? This is my least favorite thing about prep. When you go
What?
out for coffee and you have to have a freaking black coffee and you can't have a cappuccino.
Hold on. You're speaking to me like I'm not a black coffee girl, prep or off season. I used to love lattes, hate milk in my coffee now, hate it, think it's
Oh.
vile. I think, why the hell would you want to ruin a lovely, tasty coffee if you have good coffee? Can't believe it. No, can't have milk, can't have syrups in my coffee either. I just think it tastes wank. Here I am sipping my black coffee.
Well, that's my least favorite thing about prep. Just FYI, that I have to drink black coffee.
Most people are like
Well,
that. I love black
although,
coffee.
although last prep, I do have you know, like the barrister oat milk. What's it called? You know, what I mean, the one that's in the
Yeah,
client.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I do have an espresso, and I do keep my oat milk coffee in twice a day. I did keep that in throughout my whole prep last time.
If you keep it consistent and your coach is
Yeah,
aware and knows when to drop it, at the end of the day, a prep is literally a diet phase until it's not.
I was
Do you know
like,
what I mean?
I need that coffee was
I
getting me through
need
the
it.
prep.
I need this. I
I was
love
like,
that.
dude,
I
I'll
love
take the
that.
milk from my coffee.
Hey, a monster is what's getting me through prep.
Yeah, they
Monster.
are good, aren't they? Mid-morning
Monster.
monster.
Yeah, I'm gonna have one literally after this phone call, after my coffee. This is why I crash in the evenings, because I've had so much caffeine that I'm now like,
Do you do any
dying.
work in the evening?
No, I try not to. If I have work, like today, I've been so busy in the morning. I literally woke up at 6, got my cardio done, did like a 40-minute walk. Then I had a posing session with Phoebe, then the podcast, and I've also had to do a few check-ins before, but then I'm leaving at 12 to go to
Okay.
Rotherham and I'm driving. So I'm going to try not to, but if I have to, then I do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I do not like leaving things till the next day.
Yeah, that's like
Because
me as well.
like I just have to get it
Yes.
done and stuff like that. But we wanted to in this podcast talk about a little thing that we both have kind of seen. Would you want to say trending in the industry at the moment,
Um,
or
yeah, I guess it is a bit because I do think bodybuilding, especially with females at the minute, is quite like a trendy thing to do.
yeah?
So I guess I guess a little bit in a way.
So do you want to explain the topic that we'd like to kind of give our 2 pence about?
So we basically want to talk about like how extreme is prep as such, like what should you be doing? How extreme does it need to be? Because I think we're kind of touching on it before, but it kind of comes from coaches educating their clients properly about what do you need to do, what position should you be when you enter a prep, and then it
Yeah.
also comes down to the client actually doing the research, because I feel like if as a client or someone that wants to compete, you've done bodybuilding without competing and you're training, you're doing it all you're living the lifestyle as such, you're going to have a pretty good idea from like following people and stuff like that and training from what you need to do to go on a prep. Whereas I feel like there's a lot of people that maybe get into training or they're quite new, or they see competing and they're like, oh my god, amazing, before they've actually done the kind of groundwork. So
Yeah.
we just wanted to touch on, actually how extreme should it be. I get a lot of clients to me that are like come from coaches that have, it's just I can't believe some of the things they're telling me that they've done.
Yeah.
So we
Or
just
that they're doing.
yeah
Yeah.
basically.
And also just talk about like how extreme should it be, but how can you set yourself up for a
Yeah,
like it's an extreme thing.
that was
We're
a
like,
much
let's just put it
cleaner
out
way
there.
of putting it.
But yeah, how can you set yourself up for like a really successful prep? Because is such a trend at the moment. Everyone wants to be a bodybuilder who trains, but are you actually thinking about it logically? Like I have people saying, oh, like on TikTok, worst thing I've ever done was compete because now I've got such a bad relationship with
Yeah,
food. And
yeah,
it's like, okay, thank you. I understand that it is a big and extreme diet, and there are certain hormones that happen. But if I ask you a series of questions, did you stay with your coach? What was your food like before?
yeah,
Were you in a good body composition before you started prep? Did you live the lifestyle before? If you answer any of them to no, or I didn't stay with my coach, that is why. And it's at the fault of you as a person, but also your coach, because you are paying them to educate you and you're paying them to be honest with you. So that's kind of
yeah.
something we want to educate you on so you can have a little think about it yourself.
Yes, 100%. So maybe let's start with like the off season then, because when you start a prep, like, sorry, just backtrack a bit. I get clients sometimes come to me and they're like, I want to get on stage, never spoken to them before. I want to get on stage. I've got 12 weeks. Will you prep me? And I'm like, no, 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 no.
No,
Because, and
yeah.
some coaches, a lot of coaches will say, yeah, great, I can get a client
Yeah,
on stage.
money.
Yeah, exactly. Which is just the wrong way to go about it. And I think another thing is,
Yeah.
right, you don't have to compete and get on stage. I saw Ella actually put a post about this the other day and I thought it was really good. Ella, what's her name? Who does a podcast with Sophie? You know what I mean?
Clout,
Can't.
clout, crouch,
Yeah, yeah,
couch,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Ella
couch.
Crouch, that's the one. Yeah.
Couch, couch.
Couch. Yeah. I saw her put a post on and she was like, you can still pursue physique development without getting on stage.
Oh, I have seen
And I was
this.
like,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah. So
Honestly, it's so true. Like, I think when it comes, like, I think if we were to answer the question of how long should I be with my coach prior to stepping on stage, whether or not, one thing you need to remember, guys, the stage is always there, okay? There's no rush to go on there. There is absolutely none. It runs every year from from March to
you're right.
literally November. No, crap, brain's full and full. They literally run from March to November. So you're not really missing out. You got next year or you got
Yeah.
the year after. Like it's always there. But like for me, like my personal recommendation would be you should be with your coach long enough to have gone through an off season and through an diet phase and also through a rebound phase. And probably you're looking at a year. And the reasons are, which you can probably agree with, is because your coach needs to understand you as a person, needs to understand, are you ready? Needs to understand how your body kind of adapts and how it changes and what needs to be improved. But he also, or she also needs to know, are you actually ready? And if you're just chucking at them and saying, I'm going into a prep, they ain't got a clue how you diet. They
Yeah.
ain't got a clue how accountable you are. They don't have a clue how your training is. They don't know this shit. So
Yeah.
how can you expect them to bring you your best when they don't even know who you are?
Yeah, 100%. And I think also like this, the start point of prep dictates how you're going to respond after that prep. Because if you start prep right and you eat in, like we were just saying, 1800, 1900, 2000 calories, your cardio is already quite high, your body composition is amazing. Like, where are you going to be by the end of that prep? If you're finishing prep with calories absolutely through the floor and you've had to push super hard, you did a ridiculous amount of cardio, and then you're in a shocking place at the end of your prep and your relationship with food is in the gutter, of course you're going to have a negative post-show experience. Whereas if your calories are really high, your body composition is decent, you've got a good amount of muscle, you're not doing any cardio, your steps are low, you've got so many tools you can implement throughout that prep. And it's just going to mean that A, your prep is so much more enjoyable and smoother, and B, you're going to be in a much better place at the end and you can reverse really nicely and you're just in a good spot. So I just think like I don't want to blanket, I don't want to put a blank on this, but most people that really, really struggle post show are maybe people that weren't in the best position at the start of a prep at the end of the
And
off season.
and I was that person in my first
Yeah,
prep.
me too, the first time.
Honestly, like I had a coach a year before. We knew how my body was going to respond. We put the time frame because we knew most variables that we had to play. I was very big. I was very big in comparison to last time, and that meant I had a longer prep. I had to dig a lot harder. I just mentally struggled with the kind of food part because I was dieting for so long. I think it was like a total of like 28 weeks.
Right.
Um, which isn't long. It's not the longest prep that people do, but it's long for me. And in comparison from this time, I started off in a better body composition, but I was still eating 3,550,000 calories. I wasn't doing any cardio. I was in like there were so many things where I started off so much better. And it genuinely made this prep so much easier. And it's really like I was saying to you before we came on the call, like, or was it on, I don't know, at some point. I was saying to you, this prep is nothing like I
Yeah.
expected.
Yeah.
Nothing like everything I thought I was gonna feel, don't feel it. Not
Yeah.
at all, not to the extremes that I did last prep. And it's all about what we're basically trying to say is get a coach early, but actually do an off season and actually
Yes.
live the
Yeah.
lifestyle and actually build your food up. And an off season isn't just eating loads of food. That can also include a diet phase to kind of recomp you and then build your food back up and all that kind of stuff. Because, like Leah said, if you're on fuck all calories, like where else are you gonna go? And you're gonna be
Yeah, exactly.
like you're probably not even gonna bring a great physique either because you haven't been feeding yourself. You probably haven't built as much muscle as you think you have, and all that kind of shit.
Yeah, yeah. Basically, you need to get in a good position before you even think about going in a prep. And like I would never ever prep someone that just comes to me for a comp prep. Like it's not possible, right? I don't think that's
Yeah.
possible to be able to
Unless they're
prep
like a
someone that
seasoned athlete or whatever,
yeah,
and they have an immense amount of knowledge on themselves, but they just need that coach to say,
yeah,
right, this, and this. But if you're someone like new or even only done like 5 seasons, for example, like I'm talking someone seriously seasoned, I'm talking about that
yeah,
would work for. You need to be in a good position.
yeah. So basically do your off season, get a coach to get you through an off season to get you in a
Yeah,
good start position to prep.
yeah.
Um
And that's
and
the
also just like
responsibility.
yeah, yeah, 100% from both people, right? I think.
Yeah, so that's the responsibility as you as a client. But if we were to
Yeah,
move on to now the responsibility of a coach, like you, for example, have just said,
Yeah.
I wouldn't do it. And you'd be honest with that
Mm.
person. However,
Yeah.
there are many coaches that are not.
Yeah. Yeah. And I also have clients as well who have wanted to prep this year. And I've been like, look, I'm gonna be honest, like if you wanna really get on stage and like have brought the best that you can and not just get on stage for the sake of getting on stage, we can't prep this year. Like we need to actually build up, maybe do a mini court and then go for next year. And I've got a few girls now who have been with me throughout the last year that aren't competing until next year.
Yeah, I think
So
I've
by the
placed a few
time
of them.
yeah, I think one of them actually came to your team. Katie came
Oh,
to your
yeah,
team.
and also Charlie.
Yes, yes, yeah. So they're big clients that I've said, look, like we need to just wait a little bit
Mm.
and go through a little bit more time before we go into a prep.
And it's so important, like it's so important that you're not just trying to find a coach who will prep you. Like you've got to take like the other coaches who maybe you have like searched for, and take on their advice on the fact that look, you're not ready. Like you've got to think about yourself, are you ready? But also that you've got to think about like the coach can only do what the coach can do, provided on what you've given them. And they should be honest with you as well. So like it's hard because we're doing it from a client perspective because it is technically we're speaking to the clients, right? And it's their responsibility to also
Mm.
understand this. But how hard should prep really be? Some of you girls are genuinely like you're extreme than extreme. Like I hear some
Yeah,
girls who are on like sub 1,000 calories because they started on like 1,900, and it actually scares me. Like I'm just like, how are you doing that? How are you surviving? And why would you want to do that?
I was on like 800 calories my first prep, and I
No,
was doing hits. I was doing hit cardio,
it's
but
mental.
my adherence was also shocking. So you know
Yeah,
what we make, and I think that is a thing of right, sometimes you can feel like you're in a pretty good spot and you've done your off season well, and sometimes your body just does not respond and you do have to push a bit harder. So I do think there are maybe like extreme cases where that happens, but I think most of the time, like if you come out of your comp well, you prep, you do your reverse well, you do your off season, I think most of the time, like most people that do that probably don't have to go that far with it as such. Like they can it's
yeah,
still like fairly manageable. And I've spoke to clients on calls, right, that aren't even doing bodybuilding, they're not even prepping, and they've come from coaches that have had them on like literally straight in 1,500 calories right at the start of the coaching, eating like chicken and rice like 4 times a day, and I'm like, what has happened here? Like why, you know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah. I 100% agree. I also think like I hate to always put it on the client, and I think it's because there's a lot of naivety that I don't quite understand. But also, like, why are you going to that coach? If this coach
Yeah,
is like, are you choosing your like right coach for you? Like, for
yeah,
me, like, if I didn't want to go into bodybuilding, I wouldn't go to a bodybuilder who preps bodybuilders. I would go to a
yeah,
lifestyle coach who I can see eats really nice food, gives me this, gives me that, if that's what you want to do.
yeah,
Does that make sense? Like,
yeah, yeah,
I also think it's even though like the coach should also adapt, but at the end of the day, it's like if that's how they coach people, then clearly it's just the fact that this coach isn't right for this client and this client isn't right for this coach.
yeah,
But then there should be some sort of honesty here. Does that make sense? Like
yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah,
obviously the calories and
yeah,
the extremities of what this client did,
yeah.
coach did. But what I'm trying to
Oh,
say is like,
bird. Oh, my God.
huh? What?
I thought a bird just flew past, but I think it's the light. It's okay.
Oh,
Carry on.
um, but it's also like make sure you choose the right coach for you as well for like
Yeah.
what what you're doing and what you're expecting. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. And I also think like maybe if you like the look of a coach, maybe just have a chat to them and say, like if you want to do more of a, can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, it's
I
just
can
gone
hear.
a bit crackly. If you want to do more of a like lifestyle approach and you want a bit more flexibility, and you like the look of a coach who maybe does bodybuilding or whatever, just speak to that client and say, look, do you work with lifestyle clients? Like, what kind of approach do you do? Blah, blah, blah. Because then you'll get an idea of, oh, actually, yeah, like I could do that, or actually, no, that's too extreme for me. So I think just, speak to the coach first and see if you feel like you want to do the approach that they are offering, because so some coaches do if it fits your macros on prep, right? Some coaches will refuse to do that. Some coaches, like Dan does free pals, other coaches don't do that. Like, it's so different. So I think you just need to maybe even speak to a few of the coaches' clients if you can, and say, look, like, what has your experience been like? Like, what, how's your preps been? Because then you just get a chance to see how that coach works, and the methods that they use with their clients.
100%. Don't get me wrong, girls, like this person could be really, really good, but generally that look really, really good on social media, but generally there are so many shit coaches out there. So genuinely, there is such a saturated market that, like, before you even look for a coach, like, ask for testimonials, speak to their previous clients, speak to them, like, and if you don't like it, get out of there. Because genuinely, there are some shit coaches out there who just want to take your money, and they don't care about your health. They'll just do the generic shit. They won't even, like, consider much. They'll just do the generic shit, put you through absolute pain and just everything in sense of, like, dieting really, really, really low without actually considering things that, like, even you as a coach consider, health factors, like, your overall option of food, this and this, hormone, like, they don't know that. They just know eat less, do more.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing with prep, right? When you're looking at, when we said before, like, how extreme does it need to be? Obviously, like, it's a sport, it's a competitive sport, so that it is extreme. Of course it is, like any sport. But you can still, you can still eat the foods that you want to eat on a prep in some way. Like before, when we're going into an off season, Dan obviously puts my diet together and it's like, right, what food do you want in your diet plan? So it's not like he'll just turn around to me one day and go, right, you want chicken and rice and egg whites. Like, it's not like, I still have all the foods that I like. Like, I had pasta in, I had, dark chocolate in, I had bread, I had like prawns and salmon. So it's not like you're hating every second of it. It gets a bit tougher, obviously, when you're a bit hungry and you're a bit tired, but ultimately, like, you're still, like, I'm still eating 5-6 meals a day on prep all the way through. And obviously, it does go low, but you're still eating the food you like. Obviously, towards the end, it has to get a bit, because your calories go low. So obviously, a lot of the food you like do get pulled out. But
for the majority of it's there, and it's one of those things. Like, I've definitely learned that, wow, like, there are different levels to how extreme a prep can be. Like, very, very different levels, and it's like, I've definitely noticed that, because it's completely different from the first time I competed, and I'm sure it's the same with you. Like, I feel mint. I feel all right. Like, don't get me wrong, I have moments. I have moments where I'm tired, or I'm at the gym and I like my training. It's very substandard. Like, it's very substandard. But generally in myself, I feel like burst of energy. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's because I started in a better position. I haven't had to dig as much. And this is why we're saying the start of your prep and what you did before your prep is far probably more important than the prep itself.
Yeah, and I do feel like as well, the more times you go through a diet or a prep and then do a reverse, do a building phase, I do feel like obviously every time you probably start in a slightly better position, and it's a little bit easier as such, like mentally and physically, I guess. But yeah, I don't think, I think maybe from the outside it looks a lot more extreme potentially than what it actually is.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Like, I think when people are like a weekend and they're like some of my clients, they're like, I'm not hungry yet, and they're like, they're like almost have that that face of, I should be though, right? And I'm like, but I'll always respond with, good, because you shouldn't be. Like, or even if they're 6 weeks in, I'm like, good, you should feel fine. Like, even though, like, don't get me wrong, like, maybe they had different starting points, but, like, generally, if you've done things right in your off season, you've built your food up, it takes a long time for you to feel like a sack of shit.
Yeah.
It really does. It's just the restriction part that you miss. The fact that you can't go out for your drinks with your mate. You
Yeah.
can't have this. That's the only thing that you should potentially find difficult, because everything stays the same. Nothing changes apart from more cardio, less food. Like, generally, if you've kept up the lifestyle and if you've got a routine put in place before a prep, then you should feel fine. And this is
Yeah.
why we're saying it's so important to think about what you're doing before, because the more you set yourself up, the more of a routine you get, the more food you eat, blah, 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 the better it's going to be. And the less time you feel like, genuinely, I'm a few weeks out, yeah, and I feel like I'm 16, maybe like 14 to 12 weeks out from last time and how I felt.
Yeah,
And
which
that's
is good.
because exactly. So it's also like not going into the prep, if let's say you have had a really good off season or whatever, don't go into it thinking, I'm gonna prep now, it should be hard.
Yeah, your mindset is so important, isn't it? Because I think that it's, oh my God, I'm on prep. Like,
My weight's gonna
should
go,
you
my training's gonna be
yeah,
shit. I'm gonna be
yeah,
so hungry from the get-go, cardio so hard. No, it's not like that. Enjoy it. You're gonna
positive thinking.
probably, yeah, like I'm such a true believer in positive affirmations come with positive outcomes, because I've genuinely thought like that for a while, and genuinely things do go that way. Like, for example, if I'm having a really good day and I think I've done this analogy before, I drop my coffee. I'm like, fuck's sake, dropped the coffee. Annoying, but I'll clean it up, not the end of the world. If I'm having a shit day and I'm in a negative mindset, dropping that coffee is the end of the world. And
Yeah,
it's so important to think, am I dead? Am I healthy? Am I good? If those all three things are, you're okay, nothing in the
yeah,
world is worse. Does that make sense? Like, you've almost just
yeah,
got
yeah.
to
It's just
take
putting
things with
things in
stride.
perspective, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. And I
Yeah,
think
I agree.
if you go into a training session, like, I'm in prep now, I'm eating less, so my training session is going to be shit.
Yeah,
It's going to be shit. And I can tell you that
yeah.
from experience, because yesterday I was like that.
Everyone has those random days on prep though, don't they?
Honestly, I was just like, nah. I was like, it's too late. I trained later. I was like, fuck this shit. I don't want to be here. I'm hungry. I just, and there was so many people there because it was like peak time. And I was like, this is so shit. I put the weights on. I was like, it feels heavy. I was like, oh, and you just like constantly in that
Yeah,
negative space. And I just needed to jump out of it. And towards the end of the session, I was like, Sania, come on, you're being a bit dramatic. And then I like just felt better. And then instantly I felt great. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, it is
yeah,
all in your head most of the time.
yeah, yeah. No,
But yeah.
100%. So that's pretty much, isn't it? I think.
Yeah, I think we've touched upon like a good few things, and hopefully you guys have, you can take some of these notes, and when you're searching for a coach, make sure the coach is right for you. Are you actually ready to compete? Is it the right time? And hopefully you can kind of consider that yourself. But again, if you have any questions and you're like, I don't know if I'm ready to compete, I'm sure you're happy to receive a message. I'm happy to receive a message to maybe just have a chat with you and just say A, B, and C. Do you need help figuring out when's the right time to compete? Obviously, if you don't have a coach, but also make sure your coach is honest with you. But you're more than welcome to message me and Leah. I'm
Yeah.
putting her in there now. If you have any questions, because obviously you probably listen to this and you're probably like, I actually still don't know,
Yeah,
which is
yeah. And
fine.
also maybe we should do like a Q&A one because I feel like we haven't done one for a while.
Yeah, we should do that actually.
Maybe we can do that next week, and then if anyone has any prep or bodybuilding questions, we can do a bit more of a
Q&A one.
yeah. Why did I
We just
forget
need
what
to
Q&A
remember
was?
to put the we just need to remember to put the question box up, because we meant to do that like 3 weeks ago and we got to the day and we were like,
Okay.
did you get any questions? Because I didn't put the question box up.
Okay, we'll do that next week on
Brilliant. Thank you so much for
oh,
watching, guys. Please like, subscribe, comment, blah blah blah. You know what to do. Support us, share us on your story, and we'll love you forever.
amazing. Thank you.